Okay. Yeah, are you ready? Check the sounds.
Hello, hello, hello. 1, 2, 3. 1 shot hall. 1 shot hall. It seems that I'm looking into the other room. I am. Am I audible?
Yes, I think so.
Should we go?
Yes, and
Okay.
you're welcome, and I will
Right.
bring this.
Well, good morning to you in China. I'm 8,000 miles away in a rainy, cold English autumn morning, and you're there on the day that Fidel Castro died. You're there in the evening, waiting for a banquet. Greetings, and this is my assistant, the production team setting the time. Greetings from England, and greetings to you and to all you Chinese attendees at the conference. Wan Sha Hao. I cannot hear you, and I hope I shall, because since my piece is coming at the end of today, at the end of a long, full day, and before you go to the banquet, which sounds wonderful, and I wish I was there, I wanted to compress my piece to make more time for you to achieve, between you all and between us all, a kind of summary of where the conference has got to so far. And to that point, there is in your goodie bags, your conference packs, to give it its due dignity, a form from me which asks you essentially for keywords to describe where you feel from your inner selves that the art that you are also in this extraordinary conference, in this extraordinary society of consciousness reframed, which you're all involved in changing. And so it's, as it were, the keywords for the academic lecture of the future that I'm asking for. And before I go further, I would just like to thank enormously the technical team and Luna, led by Luna, in this conference, which has been amazingly supportive and made it all possible. So if I can call for the first slide and just begin my presentation, it astonishes me that the art world has not caught up with Einstein. Albert Einstein, more than 100 years ago, first discussed the dual organization of the medium we all use, which is light. And we're just, yes, there we go. And what he named was the wave-particle duality. And slide. And what he said was that the photon down. Yes, sorry about this slight glitch at the English end. The photon had two characteristics. It could be a particle and it could be a wave. Neither of those characteristics defined light totally. In order to define light, you needed them both, these two complementary phases. And here, very lately, is a brilliant photograph, actually an achieved photograph of light itself, if you can understand the paradox of that, and showing the waveform of light. Because we have the two ways of experiencing light, we also have two ways of seeing the world. We can see the world as an object in space, like the nude reclining, and we can see the world as an event in time, like the nude descending the staircase. Because we have two ways of seeing the world, we also have two ways of producing visual art. The nude reclining and the nude descending. The nude reclining is a closed system, and we see it in paintings and sculptures, system independent of time. The nude descending is an open system. It's an advance to contact. It's an immersive environment. One is the aesthetic particle, and the other is the ritualistic wave. From the viewpoint of the eye, this means that art has two potentials and an endless propensity for swapping between them. The eye outside the image looking in, and the eye inside the image looking out. Because art has these two propensities, it fluctuates across the millennia. The evolution of art has been a fluctuating pathway between the open and the closed, between the aesthetic and the ritualistic, between the nude reclining and the nude descending. And why? Well, what I can say it is driven. It seems to happen in phase with the transformations of the human ecology, with the fluctuations of the human ecology. Ecological evolution is the new kid on the block, and I can't talk in great length about it now, but I have made a film, and my beautiful assistant is going to start the film, which gives you an idea of a punctuated pattern of evolution.
A waterfall is a torrent of facts, wholly organized by the laws of physics. First, it goes from order to disorder. Then it goes from disorder to chaos. Finally, out of chaos emerges new order at the lower level, as the stream resumes its normal business of being a stream. Waterfall reversed ceases to be a torrent of facts and becomes a metaphor, a way of visualizing movement from one level of evolution to another. Over the past 500 years, we have moved from an agrarian ecology of hand tools through to a proto-industrial ecology of machines powered by wind, water, and fire, through an industrial ecology of machines powered by machines, to a post-industrial ecology of ever cleverer automata. Each of these transitions has its own internal economy. The breakout from the old order to disorder is a deconstruction, rich in structure of its own. The collapse from disorder to chaos, a second deconstruction, tearing that old rich structure apart. Most improbable of all is the emergence out of chaos of new order at the next level, as the stream goes on its way. Now, reverse the stream. Physical facts flow out. Metaphor flows in. Breakout from agrarianism produced the rich culture of the proto-industrial age. The industrial age itself deconstructed those Renaissance riches, atomized the molecule, McDonaldized the mean. Yes, however improbably to the rational mind, out of that quantum foam of molecules and memes, there begins to emerge a new order. As the new ecology of intelligent machines begins to wind our species into a binding new relationship with nature. Inorganic matter, matter without life in it, can only flow in the direction of the downward waterfall, following the arrow of entropy. Living creatures can go bootstrapping themselves up the evolutionary waterfall from level to level. It's the same triple jump either way. Old order to disorder, disorder to chaos, chaos to new order. Life in an evolving ecology means surfing the wave of an upward waterfall. Even if either way, chaos will always have the final word.
So, returning to contemporary reality, economics, in effect, is not, or economic evolution is not a straight line. Nothing really happens in a straight line. It does happen in in stepped form. So from an economic perspective, we go in a phase of cultural evolution from scarcity, an old scarcity, via plenty, a period of plenty, which we've experienced in the last 100 or 2 years, to a new period of super scarcity. And what is driving that is the progressive globalization of the new form of ecology, the ecology of machines, which has gradually come into this world, progressively eaten up the old manual ecology of agrarianism, on which human survival was previously based for the last 10,000 years, and finally eaten it and created this new super scarce world into which we're now crawling rather than clambering, perhaps, and in which you can say that our ecological evolution very much parallels the punctuated character of our biological evolution, as discussed by Stephen Jay Gould and others in the recent century. Now, when you take these two patterns, the ecology, the fluctuations in the ecology, and the fluctuations in art, which are essentially reciprocal to the fluctuations in the ecology, that's a different story to justify, but that's how it turns out. And you put them together, you then get a series of, if you like, evolutionary hotspots, where the two lines are converging and passing each other. And we exist, I believe, in such an evolutionary hotspot at the moment. So, as all of you know from the conference and from your own work, art is very much moving through this change point from the old closed system images of traditional art to the new open system images which most of you are engaged in the production of an art of immersive environments. And this is what I want your responses on when I get to the end of my presentation. Is what I call the great change. This is what we're going through. What art as a pathfinding process is really leading the way through. And I'm going to ask you for your key words, your deep level responses to this extraordinary transformation which we're living through, and in which the Consciousness Reframed series really stands at the very epicenter. Now, you can look at this, you can find this transition in art, this phase transition in art, wherever you look, wherever you go to a good, big, representative, curated, representative international exhibition. I happen to go to the Venice Biennale, and this beautiful structure here is from the Arsenale in the Venice Biennale, rather than anything produced by any recent artist. What we're looking at when we do this sort of thing is really a lap dissolve in cinema. It's as simple as that, a phase transition. With the fade out of old footage, you get the middle period of old and new footage ambiguity. I hear the passage of time behind my ears even as I speak, and you get then the fade in of the new footage. Now, if we go to Venice, you can see this in really the three phases of the process, and I give them their vernacular names, if you like. So there's abstract art, there's the old complex images, closed images, which have come down now to a sort of chaotized, simplified, and aleatory surface, and points are almost disappearing off the surface and into the wall. The second tier is conceptualism, which is a mixture of the image, the eye looking out and the eye looking in, a mixture of images which contain the eye, but at the same time conserve some of the old objectives positioning of the eye. So what's this tree doing in the middle of an art gallery? What is this thing there to be tripped over in the middle of and behaved upon in the middle of an art gallery of pictures? What is this thing which looks like an exterior, an immersive environment, only shrunk into an aesthetic environment? And similarly, in environments which live within the aesthetic and can't be entered. And here's an extreme case, lots and lots of tiny pictures forming a kind of environment for the observing eye. So you get both inferences at the same time, the look in and the look out. And here is a final example, I think a Russian exhibit of the instruments of traditional Western culture dissolving in a bath of oil. And here, since we're in China, here is this wonderful image, the Chinese dragon boat trying to escape from the arsenale itself. And then, on top of that, you come the fading out, of the fading in, rather, of the new immersive environments. This was also Russian. And it makes sense when you see people within it and responding to it, and responding to an invasion of that. Well, you can respond to an invasion of your environment by making a selfie of it. So, and immersive environments which trap the eye, trap things within themselves, trap the observer within the trap. And another form of immersive environment, this delightful tree, actually very slowly, but depending on climatic conditions, pursued the observer across the gallery. So in environments which, in all their different ways, try and enclose the viewer inside, entrap the viewer inside a contemporary world. And I'll end again on another Chinese contributor who had brought his own trade of brickmaking, and to capture the audience, or to bring the outer world into the face and the feet of the audience. And you could take one of these bricks away. I did. They're quite heavy to get on the plane, but they're very satisfactory things to own. And here, finally, is the art historian himself passing out through an immersive environment on the wheelchair, which to some extent explains why I'm not with you today, much to my regret. But Venice has its limitations, wonderful as it is, and particularly because all the work is compressed into pavilions and churches and finite spaces. So I wanted to show you something altogether on a different scale, an immersive environment on the grand scale. And again, it's a Chinese artist, Huang Yongping, though I'm sure I don't pronounce his name properly, who brought this wonderful exhibit to Paris. And I want you to see it and both marvel at it, but at the same time see it as a most wonderful example of the potential of what is still to be done and what has not yet been done in the field of the immersive environment. So here we are in the Grand Palais in Paris, vast 19th century industrial age display hall, and this is the serpent of capitalism, we quickly discover, crawling its way around an immense exhibit, the entire length of this room, and you watch the people in it. And I must say, as an Englishman, I feel with some sadness, I don't think my country could any longer produce an extraordinary articulation of separate castings like this in aluminium. And I marvel at the industrial discipline of construction. But this is just the beginning. This is the serpent of capitalism, as I tell you, and beyond it is the environment through which it crawls. And this environment is made of great canyons of sea containers. The whole thing is a marvel of sponsorship, because the sea container companies were persuaded to pay for the entire great industrial installation again. And the legend, there is Napoleon's hat, and we'll come back to it. And there, the legend, if you like, the narrative of this installation is at one level extremely simple, and it's a myth that the whole world, or a story narrative of the whole world would recognize and understand, and it is that capitalism, given its grasp on the instruments and flows of world commerce, leads invariably to the opportunities for dictatorship and control, and the we're just panning around now. You can hear the director, who is me, talking to the chap who's pushing his yet again wheelchair as we're about to curve round and take a final view of Napoleon's hat. Now, look at this. Look at the crowds, because everybody is moving in entirely random ways. There is no participation designed. And when we come to the, in a second, to the speech session, to your participation, which I hope nervously I shall also be able to hear, this is what I think we need to look at now. That we're coming through the formalistic change, the change from, I can hear sounds, the change from the closed image to the open image. And here was an open image into which crowds could filter, through which they could wander, but there was no program. There was nothing for anyone to do. Did you notice the man who actually had brought his own weather in with an umbrella and was sort of bringing his own individuality around? What does not yet seem to have emerged in the kinds of immersive environment that we're all looking at and or producing at the moment is concerted action, collective experience of, if you like, we've got the hardware, but we've not yet got the software. We've not yet advancing into the content. And that was a piece, content laid in the light sense, because it had a narrative, but it didn't drive the performance of people, the enactment of their own situations. It was just a wonderful, wonderful piece of hardware and a magnificent describer of the enormous potential that I think sits now in the hands of the arts and leading, really, the reintegration of global culture. So I want to return now this conference and to return to you the conference in its original title, considering this as a midway point, because you've got day 2 tomorrow, a sort of transitional summary, and so return it to the conference's own global title, which was Art and Its Future. And I hope now that our technology will enable us to cut away from the slide presentation, and that I can see back into the hall, into the conference hall, and that you now can have your chance to speak about what you believe to be the possibilities that I've been talking about, and what you believe would be the key words. And what we're hoping, if the technology works, is that we can, the key words to that future, we can record these as you talk now, and from there we will collate them and we'll issue them back through the system of the conference to you all as a kind of aide-memoire to the potential future you were sitting on the threshold of on this particular set of days. Now, Roy, if if I can pass the baton back to the room, if I can hear responses, I would want to shut up and listen to you all and be back as far as I can be with you. Wonderful. Ah, here comes the technology. Hello. Now, there are microphones, and I hope that... Oh, wonderful, 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 yes, absolutely. Tremendous, and I just hope that the voices transmit. In the meantime, are mics going? Yes, yes. Anyway, what I hope now is that we get the question and answer session. I can see the room, I can see you waving, but I can't yet hear any questions from the floor. Technology is a wonderful thing, but sometimes it has its moments. We've tested all this, so I know it can work. And I'm also conscious that in a short time is the banquet, and that I mustn't exacerbate the chef by letting this run on longer than need be. But I do want to hear voices if the technology will allow. Otherwise, I will step back and ask the convener and the Roy, I hope, as the president of this conference, to conduct the conversation with you, and I hope that the headlines of that, the key words of that, can be salvaged, and because I think the content of your collective mind at this moment is extraordinarily valuable material. Right. Roy, would you be able to see you in the front row? Would you be able to facilitate? I can see your familiar svelte form charging up towards the camera. I give you a wave, yes, but the sound is not yet coming through to me. No. I'm beginning to hear. It's breaking up. It may be, Roy, that it's best if I disappear. I wish you all farewell and a good banquet. And possibly you could lead that part of the conversation without the bothers of the problematic acoustics up here. Because I know we've talked so often, you and I, about these things, and we have different languages, but we're talking about the same set of possibilities. And I wonder whether I could delegate to you, if one can delegate to so great a figure, the responsibility, and let's see what comes, what could be salvaged, what could be garnered, harvested from the conversation that follows. Because I think the technical problem of the sound between you and me is one more thing than is necessary to hold up the chef with. So if I give a wave and say goodbye to you all, and I hand my thoughts over to Roy as the custodian of them, and we'll cut right out of the picture and have a wonderful banquet. And I do wish I was there.
Thank you very much.